Can I get an amen? All right, here we go.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya 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 hey hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Uki Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi Tabi Ihatia ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey yo hey yo Prospect Community College Uki Ebino yo Ito Gashi Dagush Kashka Yogi Piano yo yo Wata Pevi Hagik Tabi Ihachi ya Bino Hey yo hey yo Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Unki Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Peck Community College Uki Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo
Home Takupi. Taiwan Chia Kapi. My relatives, it's good to see you all. Again, thank you for joining us here with the Buffalo Chasers podcast, streaming at you live from Fort Peck Community College, located here in Poplar, Montana. We thank you for joining us here. Elijah Hopkins, Demier. Joined as usual with Mr. Dexy Earl Bullhead, Mr. Dexy Tommy Christian are both in the house. So the trio is back together. We're separated for a little bit, but we're back stronger than ever. So the three amigos, here we go. It is October the 28th. And before we get started with our discussion on cultural literacy and character development, man, learning all these good words from Dexy Tommy over here, man, schooling us all up in a good way. But I ask Mr. Dexy Earl Bullhead if you are able to share a prayer with us in a good way.
It was a long day for me at school there. Increased our instructions, doubled up now, so you're home. I get a little bit exhausted at this time of the day, but I'm drinking coffee to wake up. That's how la bet waka yakobet kashila elila wopila ichichiena tiwaka hena uchika nicha malakopana atio kitab chate eta atio kia bolcheo kia yukchanyaka. We ask all of you to gather all mind and heart to pray together, keep each other's spirits going. So Tokashile Ampetu Wakayak okay. Eta Lila Wakajo Kitab Ota. On Spenichap Chakohe u le Takukuk Ale Alustan. Teoyate Taha, Takukuk Ahe Wuya Ekwake. You have a kanji long spell. Tat Hokashila Akulila Wakha Tehilak. She will hear you out computer. Ushiopiapie. I took up Shani Ohena to Wakahe Wazek Papkina. Uchiket Hananach Ona in a Okiae. Akichita Okit Hapkina. Okana Uchi. En Aisha Wuchik at Hag Nachonana Okiae. Na Tiwahe Okit Happy, Waleha, a Petuglila, Techi Uskank Desha. Ahituan at Aku, Wacheka, Yus Yohau Kinajike Nachona, Kukiapie. Na Tiwaka Hena Nachchena Kichita Uphapi, Aisha He, Shicha. Makochion kit happy or practice a lechacha. Ushiach chehena to ake wauchika nichab, and Ushiach chion cookie up yet Hokashila. Saat Hokashila Masa, Tipikta, Lila Ota, Oyaton kit happy unke, and I injure wuchika nachona and okay. So to ake hena cool, Waza cupcake, papke hena Ushiach chena okay at Hokashila. Lila, Takukuk Oishichina, Takukuk Lila. Sutayakik Ashley and Akshimkina Jibna. Wauspeki you ha to Ake Nichabena Etka. Uspewun chap shake, Elila Wopit Haka. You ha Yakub Chahe Ugna. You ha Wacheki you ha Kaga. So at Hokashli et Hate Topataka. Huyeki. Na Wochikia Equakiki na Uyako to Hewopila. So I had Honkashire, Ushiach Chile, Uskamcha, Ahituana Kuki appeared Kashile, Ushinki appear, Ushinki appear, ho, Itaki Wasi.
Oh, Pidama. Right on. Beautiful prayer. Thank you for sharing with us, Dakshi. Before we turn over the reins here to actually Tommy Christian here, just want to make a few announcements for the weekly drawing. We always try to have promote participation. If you're following us on our Facebook live stream, we do have a like button, a love button, a share option. You can comment whatever comments you want to share with us about how beautiful of a prayer that was, or comments that you want to, topics you want us to talk about. Feel free to put them in there. And then when you smash that love button, that gets you in the drawing for our weekly drawings for a Cho Buffalo Chasers jacket. Okay. And normally Dekshia is rocking them, but that's when you letter in Buffalo Chaser. Letter being an Indian Buffalo Chaser. You get one of those, and then also we have a Kindle tablet Fire up for grabs, usually weekly, both of those. And so there was 2 individuals that were identified for participating, and the winner of the jacket, the Cho Buffalo Chasers jacket, is an individual named Jason Brown Sr. Winner, chicken dinner.
Dude, love.
Yeah. Jason Downtown Brown. Congratulations. We also have a Kindle Fire, and the winner of that is Tyrell Rock. The Rock. Winner, chicken dinner. Congratulations to both of you. You can reclaim those prizes at Student Services, the War Eagle Vision Building, or give us a call, 406-768-6371, and we'll ship you out those prizes. So congratulations to both of you. So Dex, Dokiri Dukcha, what do you want to talk about? Powwow is always a good topic, but character development, man, that's always.
Oh, hello, Tushka. Wana daya ichano, hello. Chate wa stay you. Okay. All my relatives again now. Daya hippie. Ushma lo chewi chashamelo na. Da gunislon waisni na chemita niche ole. Oh, that's nonwaya. Hello. But anyway, again, we'd like to welcome you all here to our little podcast that we have weekly, and it's really becoming something that is becoming more and more important, not only to us, but to the opportunity of conveying a way of life that is different than others. And again, if you remember the statement that I always share with people so that they can grasp their own understanding of that for the sake of our Tokei Takya, the future, I always say the diversity and the uniqueness based on natural law should become an enhancement and enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. Okay? And so essentially, people are beginning to take it upon themselves and process that little statement that I coined for most adults to be able to accept the diversity that is expressed by many of us on the reservation. We don't go out and speak about it or proliferate that attitude, because we're not trying to convince anybody, but we just live it. And in that, we're hoping that based on what they see, they may get inquisitive. They may take it upon themselves and ask them, well, how do you live like that? How do you deal with all this alleged negativity that's going on, and especially at election time? How do you contend with those different personalities that may need a little bit of character development, and how do you tolerate and endure that? Well, it's a basic fundamental understanding that that diversity represents. We're not all the same. If we're all, it'd be so boring if we're all the same. But at the same time, it gives us that understanding, not knowledge, of what we can do from a personal perspective as it relates to some of these things that may rub our fur the wrong way a little bit. Firstly, we don't get in mud fight with pigs. Pigs would really enjoy that. And so through time and through our lives, we learn that aspect of who and what we are as a respectful, what we refer to in our language as wichasha. And wichasha means a man of honor, an individual of honor. Wicha doesn't only mean raccoon, but it's a stage of life that we refer to as right after Koshka, we go into Wicha stage. And in that, during Koshka, you learn how to treat your female partners. And then during the Wicha state, you start learning the importance of that true meaning of life, which is procreation. And you learn about those things, in other words, on how to be a responsible adult in that in that arena of parenthood, becoming a good father or a good mother or whatever. But as a man respects himself in regards to that, based on his character development, up to that point where he realizes our true meaning of life is procreation. In that Wicha stage, he learns how to be responsible to that act of love, that act of understanding, and that act of respect that is afforded him when he meets and enjoys that process. And it's not a dirty thing, it's not a filthy thing, it's not an unnatural thing. It's something that we need to learn how to respect. And through that character development, we learn those things. So in a man, it's different than a woman. And that's defined in the manner in which we speak as well, that difference that exists there. And then, of course, you have those that are a little bit different. And when I'm speaking about our individuals referred to as winkte, and even them, they have a responsibility to that center. We don't deny them, we don't exclude them, we don't alienate them. We include them in that process, that natural process, because they too have a responsibility. And if you really want to think about it, they not only help the women in that regard, when I'm speaking of Winkte, but we need to all open our minds and understand there's only not just men that are like that, there are also women like that. And so what is their responsibility? And if those of you have delved into the history of our people and understand that whole process of tribalism, if you will, communal living, for another statement, if you want to intellectualize it, but they had a responsibility to the tribe as a whole as well. And what they did naturally, because again, remember, the true meaning of life is procreation. Well, those two, when they're together, can't procreate. So what did they do? Well, they would take on children that were considered in a white man's world orphan. In other words, they wouldn't have any parents because of illness, sickness, or whatever. And so these societies, these little clans, would take on those roles of parenthood and teach those responsibilities, to those young folks, with, of course, the support of what did they say? The whole village raises a child. Well, we understood that. We didn't really talk about it, nor did we have to, because that was just our responsibility to support those individuals that took on the adopted children in a good way to help raise them. So think about that now, my relatives. This is something that, is really becoming, in a white man's world, very controversial, and it becomes very contentious because, again, those individuals that are like that are not even understanding of their responsibilities as it places them in society. So, but in our Indian culture, we definitely accept that thing because we believe it precipitates from this wahatanka, this spiritual energy. And we, of course, realize the importance of that naturalness of that whole process, and that we accept it. And so they're afforded responsibility as well in our communal or tribalistic way of life. And with that all understanding, this is what that character development does for us. It helps us to understand the importance of coming together in a good way and not being afraid. Don't be afraid, my relatives. Your relatives are depending on you, and that's what represents strength. And so when you develop your character enough to where you're secure and comfortable with yourself as it relates to all of these issues that some people may find contentious, then you're strong enough to overcome those things and throw a little bit of objectivity in these political or personal agendas and just kind of be open-minded in that sense. And I'm hoping that would make sense to our people that are listening, because again, we're about inclusion, and that inclusion, regardless of your differences, you're still included for the sake of the two-legged, the huhunupa. Again, that's who and what we are, and we understand our differences between the animal world and the human world. Is I always like to say, the humans can kill from a distance. Think about that. And so in that, but even in that, when we used to take a kill that was out of respect or out of the need for sustenance, and we'd never take more than we needed, and we never hunted for sport. And that's another sad thing. But again, that's okay. But in our diverse world now, that a lot of people do hunt for sport, and they've gotten kind of carried away. And so during hunting season, you'll see a lot of these carcasses with just their heads cut off. And that's a very sad thing to see. And it does occur. That's a reality that we need to adjust to. And again, what can we do about it? Well, I think education is key. It's important to help our people understand they have a responsibility not only to themselves, but to their family, to their tribe, to their community, and people, the two-legged all over the world as it relates to wola chota makasi domini, peace all over the universe, And it's got to start somewhere. So again, these understandings, I even kind of don't want to call them teachings, but it's more of an understanding that we're sharing with all of you in a good way to help you to look inwardly. Let's quit blaming each other. That's where all that comes from. Those personal agendas precipitate from, is that that whole thing was manifested way back in the day. The man with all the gold rules, they call that the golden rule. That's in our way of life. That's not it at all. Because we'd never have enough gold to feel like a ruler, because we'd share it. And we're taught that what little we have, we don't have much, but what little we have, we'll share with you. And so we never aspire to acquiring stuff to make it look like we had something. So it's kind of like that. But again, this is all these teachings. We don't want to take anybody for granted. We don't want to tell them anything. We'd like to share with them, but we kind of like to turn them in the right direction, whatever that right is. My direction isn't necessarily right for your direction, but you may have a clearer path or a better way, or based on critical thinking, to develop what is good for you, to help you to go beyond that fear, help you to go beyond that understanding of yourself, so that you can become secure enough and not feel like you have to be cognitively dissident or defend your way, my way or the highway sort of thing. That's not what we do. We are open-minded enough to understand the importance of that diversity that we share with people, especially our young, but at the same time understand the importance of that uniqueness that is represented through the protocol of our ceremony, the speaking of our language, the relationship of our clanship and our societies, all those things. That represents an opportunity for us to understand the importance of the uniqueness that we talk about. And so I'm hoping that as we continue to go on, as I listen to and again, as we listen to that prayer that he was sharing with us, those are heartfelt cries and their wishes for other people. If you heard him the way I heard him, he didn't pray for himself and, give me money, give me a new car, I want more women, and I want a housekeeper, and I want a butler. And you never heard that from him. But what you did hear, he prayed for all of the old people. He prayed for all of the children. He prayed for our warriors. He even thinks about those that are behind bars. All of those things for others. And then again, as you do these things, it's important to understand how we adapt to what it is. Can you hear me?
Okay, done. There you are.
Did I go offline?
Yep, you're back. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, and the point that I'm making is, in our Wachekia, it's not necessarily
what most people refer to it as. It's not a prayer per se as we know it from a Christian perspective. It's more of a wish for better things for others. And in that process, we, based on our development of character, we are strong enough in our own life, in our own way, to be able to wish for better things for others. And so that Wachekia, I would translate it as a heartfelt cry for the sake of others. And so it's not necessarily a prayer, because we don't pray for things and at the same time, understanding this epitome of redemption is such that whatever we do as a human, that redeeming factor needs to be considered. And that again is a part of that discipline or that character development to help you try to do what is good for the sake of others. And so that's where that attitude of Wachekia precipitates from. It comes from that. And again, as we do these things, when we have great wishes for others and hoping that they can become strong, we understand the importance of utilizing our strengths to help others. And so maybe not everybody's strong enough to do everything. So we have to communally come together and understand in a good way these areas of strength that everybody has, and then we incorporate them. And hopefully as we complete that whole, that becomes strong again. And then that is referenced in many different ways, especially as the tree of life that this Changleshka, this circle of life encompasses. And that tree of life is that center. And that's why we refer to our children being there, then our women, and then our warriors protecting that. And then, of course, you gain understanding of why superstition was implemented. It was to protect that truth in the center. But those that sat around the center, they understood what the truth really was. But again, there's different ways in how to look at that, how to interpret that. And I was thinking about that and I wanted to share that and share this in our platform, because again, I just attended a wisdom council in Great Falls with the Office of Public Instruction. They're starting to recognize the importance of addressing some of these cultural aspects of who and what we are. They're starting to acknowledge the fact that we are different, and they're going to acknowledge the fact that we do things different. They're going to acknowledge the fact that our way of thought is different. And I'm hoping that in a good way, whoever listens to this would gain that understanding and then go beyond an attitude of cognitive dissonance, but yet accept that diversity based on that ability of uniqueness, and to express that uniqueness through our language and through our song, through our protocol, through our ceremony, that nobody would get offended by it, but just kind of respect that, hey, we don't cross, but we're parallel. In other words, our morals and our ethics are basically in place. It just comes from a different source. And that source in our case would be natural law. And we don't have a doctrine in which we follow, because again, that's why we're not religious people. And that's where you could understand the importance of how come them Indians get to incorporate their culture and we can't do ours. I hear that time and time again. And see, that's coming from people that don't realize we're not a religious people. We're a spiritual people. In other words, it's a way of life for us. So in that, based on natural law. So we don't have a doctrine per se that regulates our behavior. It becomes a matter of choice. And in that choice, we help people understand why we maintain some sense of dignity and honor is to sustain and maintain that integrity that was shared with us by people that are older than us. Chie, Nichiole, does that make sense?
No.
Am I sharing in a good way? Does that make sense to you as a Wichachala? Kind of jump on that boat, brother man.
The first thing that came to mind, when you were talking, is the word that came up was Otroka Hekagapi. Otroka Hekagapi is the first beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
This is a creation story that was developed And I turn to it and I keep it on my desk all the time just to remind myself about the simplicity. It's kind of like a song I used to hear with a white man sing in his band. We are, how did he say it? We're dust in the wind.
Yeah.
Anyway, it reads, Dakoni Yukheshni.
Yeah.
All right. In the beginning, there was nothing.
Nothing.
But there was stone.
Oh.
And so its spirit was the great spirit. Its essence, its being was the great spirit. Omaka kan yetu. Na hayetu. Na hayetu na ampetu yukheshni. So all those things that we see all the time, just think they never used to be. He said, Itchokab iyo yukhe. So Ia, stone, rock, there's a very significant purpose for us. We had ceremonies around them. We look for our relatives with them. We look for buffalo for them, lost articles. And it is from the beginning of time for us. It says,
before the pipe.
Hey, yeah. Total darkness. Hey, yukhe. The total darkness, ash darkness, but it was nothing. The total darkness. So it had strength, it had a spirit, it had an essence. Yuhana wosh ake ki he na we'el yukhe na tchawe ki tcho. So his essence, Ia, was blue. Ia iokshiche, but he was lonesome. He got sad.
Oh.
So he wanted company. He was lonesome. Iokshiche. Ash ia isam duene yukha okishni kistolie. But he was in a dilemma. What to do about this loneliness? Ie etaha ichik shni hantash. So he's thinking about sacrificing himself for companionship. Ie eta ichichu atash taweki minita hiukte kislokie. So he knows the essence that from his own self, sort of his blood, his line was going to become part of another source in the universe. Nakut haweki minita hiuki he ichoha kawosh ake ki ko hinapche. So much of his strength and spirit came out of him because of his need for companionship. And he knew it. And the most significant word in my vocabulary, and I think of it in many different ways, is the word nue. Nale choka otchapi. So they say our first spoken word in our creation story was the word nue. And how that came about, my interest was, you always hear Mitakuya Owasi. So I'm listening to a radio broadcast up in Fort Totten in Kabu. And there was a gentleman, elderly gentleman, Oshina. And I didn't recognize him at first because I was driving to work and he was saying a morning prayer, which is how they opened up the program. And when he finished his prayers, the word that came out was not Mitake Owasi. He said, Nue. And that was the way he recognized that word that we were told was our first spoken Lakota word. All right? So I've always considered that to be a way in which to relax, a way to think about
is that swim?
The universe.
Nue. Is that swim?
Yeah. All right. It also could be interpreted as something that you possess or you wear. So it's kind of like engulfing, so kind of makes you wonder about that one. But that's what I do. My
Oh,
thoughts are reading these things and kind of enjoying and relaxing. So now I'm ready to tell a story.
oh, why not? Yeah.
Our relationship with the universe, and harmonious as it was, my Auntie Maxine, who was my favorite auntie, she lived out in the country west of Bullhead, Rock Creek, over by Cannonball. Isabel. And I was out there one time, and her and I were visiting, and she was telling me about what it was like when she was younger, how significant and important it was that 3 bullets were very important,
Mhm.
that you do not waste any of it because that provided sustenance. So Uncle Ralph had a 30-06 rifle. He was a serviceman. And she handed me these 3 bullets. She said, Hoya, she said, Wash Agich out. He said, go out and find some strength. He said, get us some sustenance. He says, Yana, so it was a time like this when the wind was very cold and made your eyes water when you faced it.
Mhm.
And I didn't know really about where to look, but I felt that if I go against the wind coming at me, they're not going to they won't
Ah,
smell me.
they won't smell you. Yeah.
And so where I learned that from, I don't know. But anyway, so I'm walking against the wind as much as, Pachli bubbles and Ishtal Chli, whole business. I'm walking against the wind, carrying this big old rifle. And anyway, so there's a landmark out there, a community that came there after the Little Bighorn. They call it Black Horse Community, Black Horse Butte. We have relatives buried out there. And that's the first establishment before it became Rock Creek or Bullhead. And so I'm walking and I went around this corner. And when I did, that wind really came up. Then it really got strong because Baha was blocking the full force of the wind.
Yeah.
So it kind of took me backwards. So I looked up and I seen this pond. I knew that pond was there, a little pond. And I looked like there's a whole bunch of branches sticking out alongside that pond. But I couldn't take the wind, so I turned around and I said, doesn't make sense. What all of these branches be doing by a pond? There's no tree, but there's branches there.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I walked towards it. And all of a sudden, this great big buck stood up.
Oh.
And so I grabbed the rifle and I put one shell in the chamber and he yacked it. He started running.
Yeah.
And so when I looked down, I put it in it, get ready to shoot. I looked up, it looked like a greyhound dog running. I said, what's going on here? Because we were told stories about animals being able to shift. We heard those stories. And I said, did I really see? So I closed my eyes, looked up, and there he was again. And so I felt that, sacredness of what I was seeing, and yet at the same time, the need for sustenance, And so I aimed at it and I shot, missed. And so as he was running along, he came to a corner of a fence and I shot again, and he took to the left. And so I only had one shell left, one bullet left. And I kept thinking about, I cannot waste a shot. This is sustenance, this is food. So I waited for a while like this and he started running and he came to the riverbank and I'm following him like that. I led him a little bit like this. And as he jumped, I held the lead and I closed my eyes and I pulled the trigger. He went over the bank. I said, oh no, I said. But Auntie said, be sure and check out your kill. So I thought about that. So I turned around and I went back to where he jumped off the riverbank and there he was. I hit him.
Yeah.
All right. And I said, what's going on here? So I took my belt off and it took me geez, a couple hours to drag him off the riverbank up the cliff and drag him over to where that pond was. And then I found a bunch of tumbleweeds and I covered them all up and left them there because it's by a bridge in the road that
Yeah.
led out to Black Hills, the cemetery. So then it was pitch dark and I didn't know which direction to go, but I kept walking and I found what they call it, chankush kosh kosh ichpeapi. That means a hard course road. When cattle walk down it to drink,
Yeah.
or horses, they made a path. And that's what they refer to.
Yeah.
Yeah, chankush kosh kosh ichpeapi, a hard course road. So I stayed on that and I had that rifle and I would put it in front of me and I kept looking for the front of the next
The
step.
hard
And
part.
I kept going, yeah. And I kept going up and down these little ravines, up and down, thinking I said, you know, what's going to happen? I don't know where I'm at, you know. And so finally I got to the oblaya, we call it, the flat
Yeah.
part, the top surface
Yeah.
of the creek. Actually, now, as you know, I looked in there, way in the distance, I can see the lantern at the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I followed it. I kept going, got to the house, and it was cold.
Oh,
My hands were cold. And I walked in with the rifle and I put it away and I sat down by the stove like that. She's putting in some more wood and I was sitting there like that, just shivering. And Auntie looked at me, she said, how did you do? Onji yakute. I said, Onji. She said,
shot
she
one.
said,
Yeah.
Tokiske hela echbaya. I said, where'd you put it? I said, over by that pond by the bridge. And about that time, my cousin Jerry and my uncle Ralph came. And so I told him where it was at. So we jumped in and we went after him. It turned out to be a black-tailed deer.
Oh,
I have never, ever since then went hunting.
Yeah.
I've hunted other things, but I never had the urge to go out and hunt like what I had experienced.
Yeah.
So right then and there within our own self and our own culture, we are still confronted by the things that we're taught. And so when you think about the size of who we are and what we do, I said, we are dust in the wind. We're really intricate part of this whole massive universe, and sustenance and survival is who we are, you know? And so now that I'm older, I understand that people know you have to make a decision. And for us, when we took him back to the house to butcher him and gut him and all that stuff, he hung him up by the back legs and in the basement, and his legs were up there, even though they're cut off at the knees, and they touched the rafters, and his neck was folded on the bottom. That's how big he was.
wow.
Yeah, and guess where I hit him?
Right in the neck.
I shot him in the heart. I hit him in the heart.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so I know I had an eye for doing things like that. So if I need a hide or something, I buy it from somebody for a drum.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, you brought that to mind when I was these two things when you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
So conversation, terminology, you know, things perspective, we learn to listen, and from that, we do go back and gain knowledge and wisdom through other people's voices. I've learned that.
Oh,
You know? You may think that people are sleeping, but they're listening, you know,
yeah.
especially the elderly people. One of my cousins sitting in the council meeting, he had diabetes and he was a council member. He fell asleep during a council meeting, even before it started, you know. So they asked Grandpa Harry to say invocation. So he stood up by my cousin. He said, I said, here, my uncle woke up. He thought he was talking to him, and he's praying. See, even amongst we got to have a good sense of humor. I appreciate those kind of things. Don't key down, Abby. I don't hear you no more. What'd you do? Hit the wrong button. I don't hear no audio.
There. I'm there. I'm
Oh, there you
there.
are. I want to hear you laugh. I told you a good one.
I know it. I had Waylon called me, and so I had to hook him up. I showed him your big mug.
Anyway, so doubling up on my instructions is, I enjoy it, but it does take a little bit out of me at the end of the day. So these kids want to go shopping. I just send them to go get pizza and get me a deluxe burger.
Wow. You look like it.
Yeah, I'll take my time on that, baby.
Yeah, just slow.
I'll have to, I'll have to do my my denture adhesive over, but
Oh. Then at lunchtime, me and Elijah, we had enchiladas. Oh man. Yeah. Just kind of all
Food's
that.
going to take its course and come out burning, man.
No, I don't like that spicy stuff. I just the enchiladas.
Oh.
Oh man, I like those guys.
Oh man,
Yeehaw.
I didn't know they had a restaurant like that there.
No. Those girls did that. We all pitched in this morning early, and they got all the ingredients, so they put it all together, and oh, that's pretty good.
They watched it. I was weaned on Mexican food.
My call keeps going out. My connections.
Yeah, you're probably
It's still
getting naguaguas, isn't it? You don't even know it, but you're kicking around.
I know it.
Kicking
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, kicking it.
Naguagua. See, words pop in my head that I never used for years. Naguagua
See?
means you're
Kicking it. Yeah. Oh, actually, hello. I learned a new word today. Taboo.
Yeah,
Right.
naguagua.
So no, but
You can help me
thinking
here.
about these things, Chia, that's why I was thinking like that, is because they're wishing to understand the importance of like what you were saying, our thought process, how deliberate we are, and don't really translate English into the Dakota or Lakota as quickly as they want us to, and so they think we're ignorant, but they don't understand to be that deliberate is just thinking. We like to think before we speak, sort of stuff, and that's learned as
Be
well.
careful what you say. Yeah.
Well, yeah, out of respect, just out of respect for one another, and a lot of that is not going on. Well, that's why we got to really be careful, because we're not trying to convince anybody. That's the main thing, because we don't have a personal agenda here. We don't have a political agenda. We're just wishing to share the difference that is represented in the manner in which we speak, in which we talk. That's why I mentioned your prayer. And so people can realize that it's not really a prayer per se as they think it is, but in a good way, we accept that responsibility of understanding our relatives are depending on us when we do go to this higher power to ask on their behalf. And that's that representation of that humility. And again, that's the difference that we do things. They think we are savage because we're doing all these things for our own self, to gain power, to gain this, or for the sake of taking something over or controlling something. And that's totally not the reasoning behind that. If take Sweat Lodge, for instance, you're in there suffering, but it's not for yourself, it's for other people, especially those that are sick. And of course, we always keep in mind our children and our old folks when we do those things. And you do that because you're able to. You're able to do that, because there's going to come a time when I'm not going to be able to do that anymore, and I'm going to depend on these young fellas, these young people, to kind of go to the Creator on my behalf once I share with them my wishes. I wouldn't do it on my own, of my own accord, for myself, but I'm wishing for them to understand the protocol in a manner in which they can convey that need. not for themselves, but on my behalf. Snorwa.
Ja, opachta.
How?
Opachta.
Vegetu. That's the word. Yeah. That's why, again, like, what do they call it? Chanli opachte. Is that appropriate?
Getting prepared.
Yeah.
Getting prepared. Was Chandi. You don't want to say that in end. You don't want to say that in end, you know.
Jeez. Don't what's that other one? Are you a Sioux? Don't what do you say that when you say
pluralize that?
Don't pluralize it. Well, the ones that understand what we're trying to say, but again, that's just a manner in which we share in a good way, in a jovial way, and just again, walk around happy, walk around glad, and all that good stuff. Just kind of help that out. But it's different. You go beyond that fear, and you gain that security and that comfort with yourself. You're able to really get out there and represent in a good way who and what you are as a person, but even that representation of family, and then of course that representation of your tribe, and then indigenous people all over the world. You can represent that, because basically, fundamentally, that's who we are, and what we're trying to help people understand is important. But yeah, it's different. Toshka, what do you think about that? You're sitting back there just reaping in all of this, these shared stories, and talk about Chie trying to say he's a good shot.
Yeah, kinda. He must have buck fever still. But that was good.
I did it again with an antelope.
You hit that one with your car, you big liar. You didn't shoot it. You hit it with your car.
No, it ricocheted off a rock.
He went glass.
Yeah.
22 Magnum long rifle.
Oh, next. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't really have anything else to add to. That was another good session. Appreciate you guys sharing with us. We are
How's
at
the drum sounding?
The drum. Oh, you peer. Sounds beautiful. We got some smudge here. I got them both in my office. They're just ready to be blessed in a good way. In fact, this weekend we're gonna go get some. I don't know what that choye would be. It would be for those staffs. So
you have to build a bolt, nail them to a wall like this and curve them like that with nails. Just put them in like that. Let them dry like that.
On a board. Yeah.
Or a board too,
yeah. We could do that pretty easy. And we need some ichabu. So man, we'll have to have another workshop here, man. In a good way.
If
you have all of them together, don't take long at all.
Yeah.
Ichabu.
Yeah, we'll get some guys together, then we can actually record the songs too.
Yep.
Oh man, sing that Buffalo Chasers podcast song on the new drum.
Yeah.
Almost
right.
Te oyate ya otechike is the first words. Te oyate otechike. That means the nation, the Buffalo Nation is
Te oyate otechike. Having a tough time.
Yeah. And then Chatchanka Wichakua.
Hi, Earl.
Somebody's happy.
Hi.
Oh, I'm relaxing, listening to these guys' wisdom and knowledge.
Well, that's good. I haven't seen you in years. You look good.
Mr. Naguaga is sitting beside you there.
Oh, you look like it.
Can't control his kicking. He's knocking over wires.
I'm kicking my wires and cutting myself off.
Well, it's good to see
you. Anyway, I get a
good.
chance. I'll teach you how to make chili next time I'm over there.
Oh,
Indian chili.
Oh, that sounds
take
good.
Away his blanket. Take away his blanket.
You know what I want to learn how to do? You should try to get that turnip bread making recipe for me.
Oh.
Okay, I'll look around.
Okay,
That's
thank
funny.
you.
Deep
sila guya pia chiwo.
Oh,
I just looking at some timsala right here. So, gee, that's weird. Yeah.
yeah, I've been
Yeah,
trying
I'll
to
look
get that
around for it.
recipe. Okay,
How about
Thank
anybody got washtukala? Did anybody? Yeah, good to see you.
yeah, good to see
Are
you
you still
too.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Take whatever you need there, my girl.
Good shot.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, what
Yeah.
you passed on there, went over backwards.
No corn, not. Shit. Nobody's got corn up here.
Can't find any.
They're out. Yeah.
Well, my burger just walked in, so just right. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. All right. We're at the top of the hour. So what do we have?
Astros all the way.
Astros. This is the year they go all the
They
way.
steal. They steal signs.
Steal signs. They steal World Series.
They're gonna. Dusty Baker's gonna have a heart attack. Trying to control them.
It's a good ones. One apiece.
Oh.
Don't have to cut. Oh, chunk up pick the dough.
Oh, Chuelo.
Oh, Doksta.
Wasteno.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ya hey hey hey,